All right. It's truth time. Can you hear me? TruthWire, everybody. We're back. Ladies and gentlemen, I am one of your hosts, Craig Pasta Jardula. Of course, with me, Matt Weinglass from the Homeless Left. And hold on. She's on assignment, but she'll be here shortly. Fiorella Isabel. I forgot to shut my door. Matt, could you say something really quickly while I shut my door?
Absolutely.
Please.
Good to be here, kicking things off on this fine Monday morning of the usual news cycle of crazy psycho stuff that we have to flush through, and that's why it's good to be here to start it off with these guys. And TruthWire. This is good place to start. I think we're going to be talking to Lindsey Graham. I think that's one of the first things.
We're going to talk to Platner first. We're going to talk about Graham Platner. Let's jump to Graham Platner. Let's get that stuff out there because I know Fiorella will be least interested in that. She hates electoralism as is. She thinks the system is so broken you shouldn't participate in it. So let's start about that because she'll have a lot more to say on the Lindsey Graham situation, being that she's lived in Russia and worked for RT and covered a lot of Russian politics. And I think that is coming into play. It's interesting because for me, it's like I'm also paying attention. You know, I think there's a lot of psyops going on when it comes to Lindsey Graham, when it comes to Graham Platner. The flock camera situation is the dystopian world. I think when these ruling class people use the social engineers, they use companies like Tavistock to manipulate people, to manipulate the public. It's because they have a plan. And it's always been about track trace at the end of the day, understanding where its citizens are going, what they're doing, what they're saying. And that's here on us right now today. And I think a lot of that actually, it's funny, but there's a lot of parallels between Graham Platner and flock cameras. There really is, because I do believe it is a psyop going on. So let's get into this. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, you probably heard out there, and I know some people are like, oh, God. Let's go to the first tweet I put up for Graham Platner. This is his resignation letter. Click on it, James. Jayme, make it nice and big. All right, from the Maine Department of the Secretary of State, Division of Elections, 101, State House, Augusta, Maine, 043333. I think that's Augusta is where they have a sub base too as well. Withdrawal of candidacy, U.S. Senate. To whom it may concern, I am right to formally withdraw my candidacy for the United States Senate. On June 9th, 156,084 Mainers voted for a new kind of politics. One that is representative of the people down here in the real world, not billionaires, oligarchs, or the political establishment. Mainers voted for Medicare for all, to ban billionaires from buying elections, and for an end to taxpayer-funded genocide and forever wars. It's funny he says that because he's okay with the Ukraine-Russia war, just like any fucking goddamn Democrat out there. And he throws out the old fucking trigger words, the buzzwords, Medicare for all. What plan are you going to go to get there? You can just say those things. They voted for time and dignity, for strong unions and jobs they can raise families on, for hope of buying a home, for the chance to retire with grace. There's a lot of fucking buzzwords out here. People are desperate for change, for this broken system to be righted, for an American experiment to be furthered. Over the past 11 months, thousands of Mainers poured their hearts, time, and talents into a movement to deliver that vision. I will forever be grateful to them. And in submitting this letter today, I seek further the movement we have built together and the future we believe in. My name may have been on the ballot, but that ballot line belongs to the people of Maine. As such, please consider this notice as my official withdrawal from consideration for the office. Fuck ICE, free Palestine, up the heart, solidarity forever, Graham Platner. I like this one. Graham Platner, the Louis C.K. of elections. Matthew Weinglass. What do you think and make of this, all this stuff, and just your initial response to the letter? I know, and rightfully so, right? Nor have I. Have I dug deep into this whole situation? but it is important, but because I think it is a way of manipulation, narrative management, and I'm kind of curious by everything taking place. But what's your initial response when you see that letter and you see Graham Platner stepping away?
So I think your hunch right away is correct about the theater element of this, especially because we have to remember we're in a different time now than we were, 30 years ago, when it was a believable narrative, a more believable narrative in the 90s, when you said when we had candidates, whether it was a Bill Clinton or somebody on a lower level, where they're like, this just came out or this woman just came forward and nobody knew, and now we have to respond to it. See, in this age, and I like the flock comparison, in this age, they know everything. So we already have all the information about this guy, and the Democratic Party allowed him to get as far as he did, even though I believe he started out as an outside grassroots campaign to get him in, but they allowed him in. And then this was always going to be part of the script, I believe. Now, how much weight do you put on this thing? I mean, we're going to look closer at the actual, the alleged victim and what is even happening there as far as any details coming out. But aside from that, I mean, we have to look at the things that the not just the Democratic establishment, the entire establishment, what they say is okay to be mad at and what they say is not okay to be mad at. And there's so many contradictions. You mentioned the Ukraine thing. There's so much contradiction here because it was never about principle. It's about picky, choosy. What is the thing to get mad about? We have to get mad that he did this horrible thing to this woman, but we're not going to ever talk about the fact this guy was a Blackwater mercenary for 6 years. What did he do during those years and all of his stints in Iraq and everything that, he can say free Palestine now, and that's great. But I think there's a mechanism in place. Again, I think you're right on the nose here that there's a theater element that's keeping us in our camps. And it just, I don't know. It's like I'm almost with Fee with this, like, what are we even talking about here? But I do think it's important because we have to demonstrate this pattern, this blueprint they do over and over. And no, we're not all shocked that this thing came out. They've had this information the whole time, and there's a timing element to it. And I think that's important to look at. So we're better educated on how they go about this every single time.
Pizza wars are going on in the chats. Chris Allegre jumps in. Good morning to all. Good morning to you, sir. If it is morning, in fact, maybe you're on the West Coast. We do have a lot of peeps out there, but now I'm on the East Coast, and right now Fee is currently on the East Coast, so we're at like 1 o'clock. We're afternoon time, but good morning to you too as well. All right, so you are right. They had this shit the whole time. Why did they let it get this far, then pull it? What are they trying to do? What's happening now? If you don't know, there has been several accusations. One just came out recently, so it's not just one person. Several accusations of bad sexual misconduct, and in some forms, people saying rape. People using that word, right? It is kind of a little suspicious, the timing. There is no active police that we know of. Police. Investigation going on.
That's correct.
He hasn't been arrested before, and there's a lot of missing evidence from some of the people, the accusers that can't, put together a timeline. It's a lot of fishy, crazy stuff. Now we know the modern day Democratic Party, the progressive movement from years ago, was all about believe women, and any grassroots candidate that had an accusation. Democrats, the progressives didn't care about due process, right? That's what believe women eliminates, right? It says believe women.
Let's be clear about that. That was a very particular timeline where folks like Al Franken had to resign immediately without any police investigation, just because it's believe all women. It was literally a hashtag believe all women. It was believe all women up until it was inconvenient to do that, which was Tara Reade and the Joe Biden accusations, which never got taken seriously, because if they were, it would hurt the Democratic Party politically. So that was time to shut up. So now we're back to that, right, Pasta? We're back to it's believe all women when it's convenient to, which is right now. It's convenient to believe all women now. We don't need the evidence. We just need the accusations.
And the conspiracy theories, or the theories out there just in general, that this is the mainstream establishment Democrats removing him. Because they don't want to do that, and they can use this to remove him. I don't know, because I do believe in the Streisand effect of sorts, and I believe when you make somebody a victim or demonize them, it actually elevates their status. After what I believed in Butler, which was a phony fucking assassination type, somebody made a comment to me. Well, you know what I'm saying? Everybody thought that Donald Trump, all his followers, they thought he was Jesus. But now after this, they're going to think he's God. They've actually elevated him and make him look like a victim. And they elevated him with the lawfare, right? What a lot of people consider to be, why are you prosecuting this guy or accusing him of all these other things that don't seem to stick, just so you can say he's a convicted felon running for office. So, I mean, it is a little crazy when you think about these things. But once again, I think in a lot of ways, this might elevate Graham Platner. Now, it's not elevating him to a certain crowd. Now, a lot of progressives and the shit libs have gone crazy. They're screaming, and they're saying things as if they're absolute without proof. Graham says these are false allegations. Let's hear it from his mouth, just so you know, before we continue the conversation. You're watching the TruthWire with Matt Weinglass, Craig Positive. Look, Fiorella will be in shortly. Jayme CheeseSlice on the ones and twos. All the ways to help independent media are down below. Thank you so much for all your support. Here comes Chris Allegre once again. This is Graham Platner.
Hey everyone, it's Graham Platner here.
Volume.
As many of you know, over the past couple days, I have faced some very serious allegations, and I just want to make it clear, this is all false. The things that have been claimed did not happen. It's not real. It has placed an immense amount of weight on me as I think about what needs to happen now. Amy and I are regular people. We were not looking for this experience. We were not looking to get into politics. We had no desire to run for office. I just want you to think about what you would do as a regular person in a position where a much larger world, large forces were working against you personally to accuse you of the worst thing that a person could do, and it was not remotely true. I learned about this through press inquiries with no time to truly respond, no time for investigations before a corporate media system and the political establishment.
Pause. So why are you dropping out? If it's not true, you're running in Maine. You're not running in the most liberal city. You're not running in Austin. You're not running in Los Angeles. You're not running in Seattle. You're not running, in New York. You're running in Maine. Even your leftists out there have centrist views, right? Like if you really were a real person and sincere about what you're saying, you'd use this to your advantage. Look how they're attacking me. Look what they're saying. This could actually propel you in some ways, I'm thinking. I don't know what your opinions are. But now, I mean, with this whole thing, this off the bus, on the bus, whatnot, now he's definitely killed any single chance. But when this had happened, and like I said, for me, I'm still kind of on the fence to see if we're in the scene that same type of mentality of believe all women. I don't know. I think we're somewhat removed from it. I was watching a lefty show yesterday, and with our good friend Leela Charles, who did the COVID video, right? So I was watching some of her stuff, and she pretty much says, I don't believe all women, and she advocates for due process, right? You know what I mean? So I don't think we're in that same time. I'm not saying that she's the standard progressive out there that everybody's going to think the same. I do believe there's a lot of progressives. It's a big tent, and there's a different mentality. But I'm wondering, Matt, and I don't know where you stand. Are we in a different era? Are we in a different time? Or are we in the same believe all women phase where this guy has to drop out? Your thoughts?
Well, he has to drop out because he was instructed to do that. Not just the phone call from Bernie, which was more of the public charade part, where Bernie's apparently the new representative of the entire party, even though he's an independent. We forget that he's an independent, but yet
he represents the progressives, though, right?
Yeah, but he represents, the progressives, even though he's a whatever kind of Zionist he still is, because he will defend Israel.
Israel has a right to defend itself.
It has a right to defend itself. Yeah. So, he was told to step down. So this is a little different than Trump. It's the same theater charade, but he's playing a different role than Trump did. But the results are the same. The results are that you have your two camps. You have this, you keep the divide, the red, blue, going at each other, using these things for many years to come. And that's why, Trump was able to keep his base so tightly locked, because they saw this insane 37 felony thing go down, and they saw Rachel Maddow on with E.G. Carroll talking about going to rodeo and on a shopping spree with the money that was awarded. So this will be the same thing, other than the fact that he was said, you're not, your job, your role in this theater piece is to step down, but we can continue this attacking each other for setting each other up for these false narratives that aren't fair. And again, it's what I said earlier, the things that we're supposed to be mad about, and these assault accusations are the things that we are distracted with when we're not talking about this guy's affiliation with Blackwater, a 6-year mercenary stint, his three stints in Iraq. How many people did he kill out there? I'm just saying, let's keep a perspective here, and look at the thing they're trying to distract us from. And no, I'm going to say no, he is not a regular person. He's not. I don't know anybody that was a mercenary contractor for Blackwater. I don't. So
he is saying that they want something different. So for him listening to the establishment for telling him to step down, that means he was never an independent person to begin with. He's really not going against the machine. So either he's capitulating and bending the knee because the Democrats told him to, or there's a bigger psyop that's taking place right now in which they want to. Maybe they want to make it okay, and this is just a theory of mine, right? You know how I feel about let blame Israel on everything, right? He was a staunch advocate against. My friends liked him. I have friends that liked him, because I do have friends that are like, nope, he's anti-fucking Zionist. He's better than what we got. We need that. I have friends that will say they're going to vote for Dan Bilzerian if they could over Randy Fine because he's anti-Zionist. Is this something where they're like, oh, the Zionists got rid of him to turn people more against the Zionists when they attempt to, if they ever attempt to blame everything on Israel, then kind of slip away and go about their business scot-free, case closed, American empire back to business doing what they're doing? I mean, I don't know. These are possibilities, and I'm just thinking on every single angle out there to what it could be. But it definitely seems like I just want to factor in that Streisand effect, that when you demonize or you hurt people or you, and I'm hoping I might not even be using the Streisand effect in the right way, but when you demonize people, you victimize them. It makes them become more of a hero for those out there. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's just something to consider out here because it doesn't pass the smell test. But let's get into a little bit of this, Matt, because I want you to see this stuff, because here he is on Israel, right? So bring this on up. So go ahead.
Not a single taxpayer dollar should be spent on arming and defending a country that commits a genocide. I would absolutely support Senator Sanders' bill to restrict military aid, but I'll be entirely honest, looking down the road, this is a nation that right now is exterminating people. It is going to be very difficult for me to ever be able to look at them again and see someone that we should be working with closely. An immense amount of work is going to have to be done, all right, in my opinion, to fix that relationship, because fix that relationship.
So he's still leaving the door open, whatnot. Now, if you were to ask people out there, normies, you can take it down, Jayme. If you were to ask normies out there, Matt, is Bernie Sanders anti-Zionist, anti-Israel? The most normies would say yes, he is. But we know he's not. If you ask most people if AOC is against Israel and whatnot, they would say she is. But we know from certain bears, when Mama Bear tells her to vote, she votes, right? That these people aren't staunch anti-Israel, anti-Zionist. They even say shit like Israel has a right to defend itself. Maybe he was also going to be one of those Trojan horses that appears, because this is his number one issue of likability when it comes to the left supporting him, right? Was this issue right fucking here? Well, maybe he was going to be another Trojan horse like a Bernie Sanders AOC who really aren't going to be as anti-Israel as fuck, because let's not forget, the Democrats had full control at one point and they didn't disarm Israel back then. They only started complaining about it when the Republicans and Donald Trump had full control, because their words wouldn't do anything. And if they get full control again, they might go back to Israel has a right to defend itself. Your thoughts there, Matt Weinglass?
The verbiage is important here, because
yes,
we are moving into a new time. We talked about the National Defense Authorization Act. I know you and I had a debate about that, the significance of that. It's so huge, it's so significant, Pasta, because these types of speeches are not going to have any more power that they do now. They're going to have way less weight, because we're talking about a shared budget of military spending through our Pentagon with a country that this debate of whether Bernie or AOC or Platner or anybody and challenging our budget for Israel is not going to matter anymore. You can talk about it. We shouldn't give another dime. Even this part about Bernie, and I agree with you, like Bernie's talking about limiting the budget to these psychopath terrorists. Let's just limit their budget. Well, Netanyahu's going on all the news outlets right now saying we're not going to need to take money from the US anymore, because we're all going to share the same bank account. So that's huge. And that's happening this week. This is not a joke. So we hear guys like this. Does he mean it when he says it? He probably does. When he was talking there, I think there was a lot of truth in his voice. But down the line, this Trojan horse that you speak of, I don't even know if it's pre-planned, but I don't even know if AOC pre-planned that she was going to start calling Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear when she got in. But it's just the thing that happens. The natural course of things is that you get if you get in, you get compromised immediately on day one. That's what happens. And so if anyone's going to actually have the guts to say cut off spending to Israel, that's not going to have any more weight anymore. And I want to know if you have had any new thoughts on that yourself, Pasta, because language is important and the words we say in these speeches are important, but it's not going to have the same weight as it did before. When we actually were the ones that had to write the freaking check, we won't be the ones writing the check anymore. It'll just be in the joint bank account.
Yeah, I mean, once again, like I said, it's been going on all along. Now it's different. It's official. It's on paper. I get it. But I would argue, why is that military budget $1.5 trillion to begin with? You know what I'm saying? Right. I still kind of digress back to that point that there's all these other entities that are going to be making a ton of money and they're shielding themselves. I mean, you know, how many times have you heard Lockheed Martin or seen it on Twitter compared to Israel? Meanwhile, they're walking away with a check for $38 billion of that $1.5 trillion just to replenish all those things. And the military, like I said, I think at the end of the day as well, is going to look for any area in which they can empty out the armament just so you can write another check for next year. It's like that you got to spend all that fiscal spending, right? If you want more money moving forward, you got to spend the money we gave you last year. Otherwise, you don't need new money. So I think that's all in the play. And I get it, man. It is like one of these things, because when the Democrats do come back into power, right, I think the excuse for not sacking the $1.5 trillion, and let's be honest, it might be $1.5 trillion right here with the Republicans now in power. Every single fucking year, that budget has gone up. When there was a full Democratic Congress, that budget went up every year. It hasn't fucking stopped. So I don't know how much of an effect or negative or positive it is going to have. I don't like it. I'm just saying that it's been going on for quite some time. Now they are making it official, and I think there's less eyes on them since they share the same budget. You're absolutely right. So we'll have to see what happens. But I wouldn't count on the Democrats.
It's not just less eyes. It's not just less eyes. It's that you can get on a podium and say, after this goes through, you can officially get on a podium and say, I am against giving one damn dime more to Israel. And everybody can applaud. And that could be absolutely correct because we're sharing a bank account. Yeah. So you're not giving them anything. A husband and wife doesn't give each other money.
Yeah.
When they have a contract. Well, no, I'm sorry. Think about it.
Yeah.
Husband and wife's they're not loaning each other money. If they're sharing a bank account, it's one entity. Do you understand that we're getting married? This is what this is. This is a marriage contract. So it's no longer
the thing is, in a marriage contract,
lending money to another
I get
friend.
It. But in a marriage contract,
lending to a marriage.
No, I get it. But in a marriage contract, you can get divorced. The thing is, when I tell people all the time,
but this is why it's such a great analogy to marriage, because how costly is a divorce? If you are so tied to if a boyfriend girlfriend are in such a horrendous relationship of just chaos and abuse and just you got to get out of that, man. Well, oh, you're gonna marry her now, really? And then so you do the contract, and then you say, well, it doesn't matter. We're treating each other like crap anyways. No, it matters, because now you got to go through how are you going to get through that divorce if one side has access to the court system itself or has unlimited ways they can F the other one over? So it is a big deal to sign on the dotted line with these guys, because we're not lending them money anymore. We're sharing a freaking bank account.
Yeah, I get that. And like I said, at the end of the day, that is the problem, though, is the fact that people don't pay attention to policy. They pay attention to rhetoric. Donald Trump is not serious about fixing our elections when he's kind of floating this stupid First Step Act bill, because he's not eliminating the money source and the power source in the HAVA, the Help America Vote Act. He's not repealing it. You know what I'm saying? He's not killing the bill. He's letting it go. So he's not really serious about it. Same thing goes with when it comes to gain of function testing. He's not eliminating or repealing the Patriot Act. And people aren't looking at those things. They're not talking about those things. They're just looking and talking about rhetoric. So therefore, that's what they're going to pay attention to. At any day, anything could be undone. It could be done. The marketing by the will of the people, we're supposed to be able to get things done. The direct democracy is something it's possible that could happen, but it just doesn't, because people's eyes are not on the prize. You know what I'm saying? And Israel wouldn't be a country if it wasn't for the United States. Since its inception, we've been attached at the hip, and it's just disgusting, because there's no talk about what's going on in Gaza today. There's no talk about what's going on in Lebanon, and all these other things are just like distraction gate. I feel a little guilty watching some of the soccer, and I was really upset that Norway lost. Nick Fuentes is making an opinion about it too as well. And by the way, I did kind of pick this out because I want to show you the fucking right-wing grift and whatnot. But there are a lot of people who share this guy's mindset. There's a lot of people. There would be people in Maine who would feel the same way and would still have voted for Graham Platner either way. I don't think this is something that would have done him in. And it's very curious to me of why he's stepping down. You know what I'm saying? It's like he wants to play the victim. You can see him trying to play the victim. Here's Nick Fuentes. Take a look at this real quick.
And this is a shame, because Susan Collins is a terrible Republican. She's one of the worst. Always votes against Trump. Is in no way, shape, or form even meaningfully right.
You hated Trump.
And so if any Republican needs to go, it's her. And I don't like Graham Platner. I think he's another one of these communists and obviously a degenerate.
Not even close.
And I'm not a big fan of his either. But Susan Collins really has got to go. She is easily one of, if not the worst Republican that's running for re-election in the Senate. And I would be ecstatic to see her lose the race and for the Republicans to lose the Senate with her. That would be phenomenal. And so it's sad to see that Graham Platner is being destroyed over this. It's funny, though, because this is just another Me Too sex scandal, just another Me Too fake allegation. So this woman is claiming that 5 years ago, her boyfriend, who she's in a situationship with, on and off, barges into her home and starts being forceful with her. She says in an interview that what she said to him when he starts initiating sex is, "My back hurts. I don't feel like it." They have sex. She doesn't even kick him out of the house. She goes to bed with him in the same bed. He stays the night. She sleeps with him in the same bed. She wakes up in the morning and says, hey. She wakes up in the morning after this traumatic rape that she needs therapy for. She wakes up. "Hey, you remember what happened last night? That you raped me?" And he goes, "No, I don't remember." And then he goes home. She continues seeing him for a month later, waiting to see if she's going to get pregnant because she wasn't on birth control. She continues seeing him for a month after the fact. And then when she realizes she wasn't pregnant, she says, hey, by the way, when you had sex with me all that time ago, that wasn't consensual. We're over.
Okay. Pause it.
She later
all right, I don't want to play too much of this donkey because he goes into it, but I do wanted to prove a point that there's going to be a lot of people that think this way, right? There are texts supposedly that tell her that this woman said, don't come over. We can't find the text. There are no texts. She can't prove it, whatnot. I think if something traumatic would have happened to somebody, they would have saved those texts no matter who there did that, but she can't produce them. They also say, how did he get in? She left the door unlocked. So there are all these things. And I'm not saying that this makes him innocent. What I'm saying is there's enough evidence or narrative management that they could put out there that he could have gotten past these accusations, right? Most people are concerned whether you've been on Epstein Island or not. Not that you had some shaky relationship with a woman. Not saying that he's innocent. Not saying that he's guilty. What I'm saying is there's enough information out there that he could have beaten these charges and possibly used this to win the election, not drop out and lose it. And I don't know if that theory holds true, but from everything I'm hearing from Nick, and this is, once again, this is Maine. And by the way, what a communist. Like, I mean, Nick, you're such a fucking idiot at times, most of the time. But I mean, and he doesn't follow along. She doesn't follow along with Trump. I thought you didn't like Trump. I see. But your thoughts on that real quick. And then I think we have a clip of the woman on an interview and we can look at that a little bit. Oh, but I definitely wait. I think the next clip is one of the shit libs breaking down. So go ahead. Your thoughts.
This is complete waste of time. I think this is part of the Nick Fuentes' monologue. Like you said, I mean, it's just scattered nonsense of communist accusation, degenerate accusation. But then breaking down how illogical this report is on this woman and the interaction. It's also, I mean, it's great for pointing that out, how weird it is that it doesn't have anything concrete in it. But like, why are we even going? This is the theater of it. This is the distraction. Why do we care so much about this one woman and whether her back was hurt or not on a particular night? It's like, we should be talking about these other things you mentioned. We should be talking about Gaza. We should be talking about Lebanon. We should be talking about these things. This is, it's not, there's nothing here. I'm sorry. It's just, but yeah, it's a different time in the sense that you have the Democratic Party is not 100% locked. I'd like to see these new clips here, but like, they're not all saying, get out. We're done with you. They're asking the questions about how weird it is, because it is weird. It's weird that this is all they got. You think they could have come up with something a little more concrete? I don't know. It seems really
why is he dropping out is the question. That's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, okay. Maybe there are a lot of people say maybe there are some kind of meat and potatoes to the allegations. This is one of the shit libs freaking out too as well. I mean, and this still exists out there. This is going to be people with, this guy has not had any due process whatsoever, and you're going to immediately say he's guilty. That's it, and go after anybody out there who's questioning it. And there are people like this that exist on a regular basis, right? Like, no matter what, the Believe Woman crowd, no matter what, believe all women rather than, don't question everything. I still like question everything, you know what I'm saying? And I don't like Graham Platner. He seems very douchey to me. The Blackwater thing is a big, right? His position on Russia-Ukraine is a big, it seems like a psyop.
How many women did he murder in Iraq? I want to know that, because they didn't get a chance to talk
exactly.
About they didn't have a chance to report on their hurt back before they got shot. I'm just saying, or their house got burned down.
Yep.
So,
let's play this real quick. Yeah. But this is once again, this media is out there. Go ahead.
She divulged the details of the text messages from that evening, and she divulged it to the Washington Post. The Washington Post.
Do you guys see what he's doing? He's literally trying to discredit her by saying, well, he must have mistook something, and now I'm going to ignore the part where she said explicitly, do not come over. I am not interested. Like, fuck you.
Where's that text? Where's
You
that
are
text?
scum.
Where's that text?
Oh my
Why do you
God.
automatically believe that shit? Where's that fucking text?
She divulged.
Okay, so she's choosing the wrong person to be attacking on this, right? Ryan Grimm actually has a good reputation for case by case looking at the evidence and making an opinion that seems to be based on principle. He was one of the very few that championed Tara Reid during the allegations of Tara Reid. Nobody else came to defend her. And you had the entire MSNBC crew attack. Tara Reid's making it up. So he knows when it looks suspicious. He knows when it looks legit. And like you said, Pasa, he's not going to report on something that there's just a claim. There's nothing there. So this girl, whoever this TikToker is, she needs to do a little more research. I wonder what her stance was in 2020, right? I like to know where her stance was when it was time to go all in for Biden. When good old Bernie says, vote for my friend Joe Biden. Ignore those allegations from Tara Reid. She's a Russian agent. She's a Russian agent. So that's what I'd like to hear her history. So let's give a little more space, breathing room for people who have consistently looked at case by case and not just choosing a side. So I think Ryan Grimm got that right. He's got other stuff wrong, but this I would take. I think I would trust him on this one.
Well, it is interesting because there is this group of people out there. Katie Halper, I had to show this over here, her tweet. You have the Ryan Grimms, the Katie Halpers right now that I guess they're not just necessarily just falling in line with the believe all women stuff. Don't think for a second Neera Tanden in the DNC pseudo-feminist she represents care at all about Platner's victims or sexual assault. They don't even acknowledge Tara Reid's accusations against Biden or Juanita Broaddrick's against Clinton. They just don't like Platner's politics.
There you go.
So, I mean, it is interesting what's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of moving spaces and parts over here. So it is hard to grasp these things. It was somebody put Graham Platner, and I thought he was a plant too as well. I thought he was going to be the AOC to get in there and do exactly what she did. Just go establishment. You know what I'm saying? Not do the things that the people want. Get in there and forget about Medicare for all and obviously go along with the pro-Russian, the anti-Russian narrative of the Democratic Party. But now it seems like he might be a plant in a different way. I don't know. It's interesting. A lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts, but I just wanted to address them. I'm not saying he's innocent, guys, at all. But I'm saying that everybody deserves their due process. There's not even a fucking police investigation out there for this to sink him. It just seems very odd. I don't know exactly what's going on.
Let me give one historical context about the difference of the Democratic Party packaging of these type of things versus the Republicans. So the Democratic Party's packaging is consistently will take that quote unquote higher road and step down and not fight. It's consistent. I mentioned Al Franken earlier. It's just consistent. You step down, you don't fight. Go back to 2000, Al Gore. You step down, even though you're in the right. You step down, you step aside, you let the system work itself out. There's a history. Bernie, how many times have we seen Bernie say, we're taking on everyone, we're taking on the military industrial complex, we're taking on the corruption,
oligarchs, the establishment.
It's time to step aside and vote for Hillary Clinton. It's time to step aside and vote for Joe Biden. It's time to step aside and vote for Kamala Harris. So it's like this is so that is consistent. That's what the Democrats do. Republicans will fight, and they will to spite the establishment narrative. And when they get through, like Trump did, that also plays its role in keeping us in our camps where we are each other's worst enemy from right to left, from red to blue. That's what. So each party just does it in a different way. So he's serving his purpose. Step aside, continue the theater.
And, I often think about like the moves because they play the long game. Like this Lindsey Graham thing, which we're about to go into, there is reason to believe, once again, it's not what really happened. It's the narrative management and the story they're putting forth that Russia might have killed Lindsey Graham. Like people legitimately have legitimate concerns there or whatnot, or beliefs. I don't know if it's necessarily true. I certainly don't believe it. But
you certainly don't.
Not right now. I want to see more evidence. I'm not saying I can't change my mind on it, but I still have a hard time believing that, the Russian Federation, along with Vladimir Putin, who heavily pushed for Minsk 1 and Minsk 2, would jeopardize all their work of going through the international courts, whatever, and give the American empire a legitimate reason to go to war with them. I don't know. That's my initial thought. I'm not saying it couldn't be true, but I don't. It's just like HARP in Venezuela, right? It's got to be part of the discussion. Am I 100% sold on it? Not yet. I'm going to wait and see, but it's definitely part of the conversation. But for me, if it is the long game of getting into a war with Russia down the road, right? This would be the perfect fucking way to start that fucking debate off and that argument about, right? Let's say the Democrats come into power. Now you got all the Democrats who are anti-Russian. They end their little shit going on in Israel, whatever, for the time being, and then they refocus back on Russia and going to war with Russia. This is a perfect piece for that to give them the fuel they need for the rhetoric that Russia is evil and they deserve to go to war, that they're our enemies. They killed a senator. It might not be a senator you like, but it was a U.S. senator. And it definitely seems like this would be something they can do for the long game. So I don't, just to put a bow on the Graham Platner thing, I don't know what the PSYOP going on is, but it definitely seems like there's a lot more moving parts. And I don't know. It feels like to me that they want something out of this, and this was meant to happen and meant to be. I don't know. I could be wrong. Nonetheless, it has happened, and you can take it any way you want. I think you made a great point too, Matt. When you get people back into their corners, whatnot, you kind of reinvigorate that rapey, we believe all woman kind of thing that's been going on that sacked so many people in the past. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, you have people using kids as currency, pedophiles, and we're talking about, oh, this person said this about that person that happened 6-7 years ago, and it doesn't make a lot of sense when you look at it. The fact that they don't even allow due process to take place, the Democrats, and we see a lot of those people again resurfacing, is very scary. Everybody is entitled to due process. You just saw a bunch of immigrants who they're taking away due process. And now you don't care about the due process that needs to take place with Graham Platner. It's the same old shit. Republicans don't care about due process when it comes to immigrants. Democrats don't care about due process when it comes to men who allegedly raped somebody. Allegedly. Divisiveness, ignite. Let's get into Lindsey Graham. Unless you have one last thing to say about that. I think you said a lot of great things, but if you have one last thing to say, please do.
No, I think we're ready for some Lindsey
Graham.
I'm excited. I'm
Remember,
I'm all gayed up on this one.
Remember when Joe Biden, when a hurricane was going to hit Florida, and Joe Biden said the best way for hurricane security or to protect yourself from a hurricane is to get vaccinated?
That's right.
Lindsey Graham was brought on a news show to talk about the hurricane, and who did he talk about? Israel. Here we go. Lindsey Graham. I had to play this one first because this is vintage fucking Lindsey Graham. And once again, you don't have to piss on the guy's grave, but there is no fucking need for respect from this guy. Here's Lindsey Graham.
I've been going all over South Carolina like most people. I hadn't slept much. But look what's going on in Israel. Our friends in Israel are surrounded by people that want to kill them, destroy them, a second Holocaust in the making. And Biden says, be proportional. What is the proportional response to people who want to kill you and your family? Gosh. They're running out of ammunition in Israel. We have to help our friends to keep the war over there from coming here. The world is
I mean, you got to be talking about there's death and destruction. There's a hurricane that hit. There's people missing, needing desperate help. And this fucker goes on TV to say we need to help Israel. I'm with Israel to my dying day, Matt. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no,
he didn't. I'm with Israel.
he didn't work for his constituents in South Carolina. He worked for Israel. Clearly, he said it out loud. Netanyahu has been the most heartfelt showing of loss. This is like our best friend. We just lost our best friend. this is a guy who every single thing he did was for Israel, and his fling on the side was Ukraine. Those were his two attachments. He had zero attachment to the American people or his constituents in South Carolina. And like I said, he said it out loud all the time. And apparently our system, our entire structure was okay with that because he was so passionate about it. And this, of course, this is our greatest ally ever to exist. So, there you go.
So everything seems to be a psyop. Everything seems to be fucking an inside job, a plant, whatever happened, right? Like we make those jokes, but it's like, what the fuck is really going on? Nobody knows what to believe nowadays. And there's a lot of conversation going on about Lindsey Graham. He didn't look like a guy who was dying. A couple days earlier, he was in a drone factory. Went over to Zelensky, let him know that they'll get the weapons. Now, we've heard a lot of talk about the Russians starting to bomb the drone facilities and whatnot. Here's Larry Johnson on his theories on how Lindsey Graham got killed. And then as soon as we play the rest of this video, this minute and 38, Matt's going to take the lead and give us his opinion on what he thinks. And I'll follow up too as well, because I think I've already expressed that I don't know what to believe at this time. I'm going to a little bit hold off. I don't know if it's vaccine related, but
are you holding off, or you said you were not believing the Russia assassination story?
I'm saying it could be possible, but I'm not sold on it just right now. Okay. If I was leaning to a choice, my final answer would be vaccine related.
Okay.
But that's just my once again, I'm not saying that it could be Russia. It could be whatever. I don't know.
Okay. So you're open to the Russia thing. Okay.
I'm open. I'm open to your theory. Not just your theory. I'm open to the theory that Israel could be the one pulling all the strings. I'm not denying that. You know what I'm saying? I'm open to all these things. I'm just not sold. And I'm leaning towards other things. Okay, that's it.
We're asking the right question, so this is good. Let's listen to this one. This is
Larry Johnson
suffered a heart attack when he was hearing explosions in Kyiv. Is something he's probably never heard before.
But why would they lie about that? Why would they?
Why do they lie about anything? I mean, show me. We just talked about how they're lying about the Strait of Hormuz being open.
Yeah, but that's
one more lie.
Yeah, but I'm saying usually there's a reason to lie. You want to lie to make it seem you're winning a war, to manipulate markets.
Yeah. So why? You want to admit that you're the number one senator proponent of Ukraine died in Ukraine in the aftermath of the Russian military strikes? Well, that doesn't fit the narrative too well. And all I can tell you is I've also heard from people who had access to the Pentagon, to generals in the command center, National Military Command Center. They were walking around talking today saying he died in Kyiv.
When did he visit the drone factory? I'm curious. Can you tell me again?
Friday afternoon, but I don't know the time.
So if you visit Friday afternoon, so let me see. Because he might have visited. So when do you think he left Kyiv to Poland?
The earliest he could have left would have been the following morning, Saturday morning. But again, why would Graham fly 20 hours, fly and take a train for 20 plus hours to do just a tour of a drone factory, and then the next morning get back up and repeat that whole 21 hour journey?
I hate Mario and the will fall too, Fred Edward. Just the fall is awful. I avoid him as much as possible. Yeah, but Larry Johnson said that. I just wanted to put that up there. Matt, do you agree with Uncle Larry? Well, Uncle Larry is Larry Wilkerson. So, but I do like the fact that this guy's just a pimp sitting with a Cuban hat and a Cuban cigar and having at it. Go ahead. Your opinions.
Do I agree with him for reporting that people are talking about him dying in Kyiv? Do I agree with him for asking questions about timelines? Absolutely. I didn't hear him come to a personal conclusion. Yeah. I heard him give us information that he's heard and do a timeline, which is the job what we're supposed to do. And it's the first thing I did is I looked at the timeline and I said, there's no way this guy could travel back and do this. And he just made a great point. Why would you do that 21 hour flight? Yeah. Only to immediately leave after. And we've seen the pictures from the drone facility. He's literally holding a drone bomb and smiling. This is the last. I mean, how classic is that? How ironic. The guy is holding this. Like, this is going to kill many people. Ooh, I can't wait. Well, fast forward a few hours, you're the one being buried underground, not the innocent people. Of course, they're probably going to get killed anyway, but it's just funny, the guy holding it. So these are the questions to ask. Now let me respond to the yeah, there it is. That's the one. That's like the last picture taken of him. I think it's very symbolic of who he is. That glee. Do you see that glee in his face?
Yeah.
This is how we should remember him. This guy, the guy that salivated over dead Palestinians, salivated over dead Lebanese people, salivated over dead Russians and dead Ukrainians. He said down to the last Ukrainian. This guy gets off. He literally is having these like jizz fests over the thought of murdering innocent people over and over again. So of course this is a great we should remember him like this. Absolutely. Now let's look at the larger picture that you brought up earlier, as far as the why. How can this make sense of Putin ordering something like this? If this was a theory worth looking at, which it is, it's absolutely a theory worth looking at. And I would say this: we should look at this moment as a test. It's a test to see, is this empire that you and we talk about this all the time, this falling empire, did we hit that pinnacle place where the drop is started? We are literally in free fall, and the empire will not be recovering. This is the Epstein class. This is the Baal worshippers. This is the rigged economy. This is all of it. All of the endless wars and the let's go take as many countries down as possible. Let's go steal as much shit as we can. So that is falling because why? Because if in fact Russia did this and we had the power to respond, even if they didn't do it, Craig, you know that if we had the ability, we would have already blamed it on them. So the fact that we're not can show you right there something's changed. Something's a little different, because you would absolutely run with this if you want, because you want to go to war with Russia. Lindsey Graham wanted Russia so bad. All of he's been reunited with his old buddy John McCain. These are guys that just salivated over this stuff. They've been plotting this Ukraine proxy war, using another country, using their people in exchange for, so not as many Americans have to die, because let's just use them. But we want to take out Putin so bad. So this would be call to action. Whether Putin did it or not, this would be the moment. Because we're not calling to action, because the first thing you hear when you wake up Sunday morning or Saturday night late, what do you hear? Lindsey Graham died of natural causes of a very short illness that was sudden. Wow, really? You're not even going to tell us all the Russiagate this and Russiagate that, rigging our elections this, oh, Putin taking over the world that. You're not going to even tell us in the headline possible connection to Putin here? So that's the test, Pasta. The test is that we are not doing that. And we're showing the world that we are no longer in charge. We're no longer the bully of the planet, because we can't even make that up if it wasn't true. That's why I think it's very likely it might be true.
Yeah, well, I don't know. They can hold on to a card and use it later down the road. You're right. I mean, those are interesting points to bring up. I don't know. You never know what the empire is trying to do. And there are people out there that are saying stuff. I brought Ryan Mata's tweet after this, but just to provide a little context, because Matt mentioned it, this is what, if you're wanting to prove like intent, right? Like, why would people go after Lindsey Graham? Why would the Russians go after him? Let's play this old video of him and John McCain when they were besties in Ukraine, way before this military operation from the Russians started. This is what led up to the Russians doing what they're doing. Yep. Here he is.
Your fight is our fight. 2017 will be the year of offense. All of us will go back to Washington and we will push the case against Russia. Enough of a Russian aggression. It is time for them to pay a heavier price.
I believe you will win. I am convinced you will win, and we will do everything we can to provide you with what you need to win.
Я вірю в те, що ви виграєте, переможете. Я переконаний в тому, що ви переможете, і ми вам допоможемо всіма можливими засобами.
Це те ж саме гільзи з ворожих БМП, які розмальовані художництвом.
Here's the picture.
З Новим роком, дорогі мої!
All right, that's enough. So that's what Matt was talking about when we were talking about Lindsey Graham, and all of a sudden all the other stuff that came out of this. Any Russian, dead Russian's a good Russian. Best money we ever spent. You know what I'm saying?
Down to the last Ukrainian. Yeah.
Down to the last Ukrainian.
The people in the room that he's talking to, down to the last of you,
yeah.
which has happened. I wonder how many people, I think Jayme mentioned it in the chat, how many people are in that room are even left alive today? Probably none. Maybe one or two.
I think those are higher leadership, so maybe a decent amount of them, but there's definitely all the low-level people have gone through the meat grinder.
Also, remember that the timeline of 2016 before the election, before the Hillary versus Trump, these guys were just ecstatic about the fact that you had this neocon Hillary Clinton ready to come in. She was going to destroy the Republican nominee. They hated Trump. Trump hadn't gotten the Adelson money yet. Obviously, he hadn't been. He's a guy that would make phone calls back then. He was the guy when he got in. He called Ukraine. Go, what the hell? Hey, Zelensky, what the hell's going on here with this Burisma crap and Joe Biden? So this is the stuff they were going to do this way earlier. Let's remember that this 2016 plan. This was going to happen in 2017. The second that Hillary got sworn in, this was going to happen immediately. But they had to, oh shit, we got to wait 4 years. Didn't go as planned. But the next time we got Trump, we got him now, baby. We gave him the money. He is in now. And that's why you see the Lindsey Graham transition, right? From let's shoot those J6ers in the freaking skull, which he said, Lindsey Graham said, I would shoot those J6er protesters in the freaking head. So he's gone from that because Trump was not on board, because he was not a politician. He was a slumlord, narcissist, game show host. He was not a politician. He hadn't killed anyone yet. Everybody else had murdered. They had a track record of murder and mayhem. He was not in the club yet. So Hillary was supposed to. I just want people know that speech wasn't about down the line, guys. This was supposed to happen in 2017. So now, fast forward, you got the best friend of Trump is Lindsey Graham now, not Marjorie Taylor Greene. Not Thomas Massey. Get the F out of here, you pieces of shit. I want my warmongering psychopath in the closet fanatic of murdering people right next to me. And that's why you want him dead. If you are Russia or Iran or anybody else, you're like, this guy is the greatest friend to Trump and to Netanyahu, because he's the one that talks through every one of these war policies. And now he can't do it anymore. So that's the timeline. I want people to just understand the perspective of what has changed over the last 10 years.
Ryan Mata, who I'm not a big fan of, but does get a lot of attention, got over 500,000 views on this post. Let's see his theory out there, because I think a lot of people are going to adopt this theory right now. And it's interesting if it is true, because he does point out, and I like to point out, it's early in this conversation, he does say pretty much really quickly that if now other countries, we're not the big guy anymore, and other countries could hit us back, how does that change the perspective of things going on? And by the way, Fiorella Isabel has just joined us from Incitement. This is Ryan Mata and his theories, and we'll let you tackle this, Fee, right when we come on back. You're watching the TruthWire. All the links down below to help independent media are there. Thank you so much for your support.
So check this shit out. Lindsey Graham is dead as a doornail. And you want to know when he died and where he died? Oh, he died over in Kyiv within hours of visiting this drone facility in Kyiv that was manufacturing drones that were hitting deep inside Russia. Right after that, Russia announced that they had struck drone facilities in Kyiv. So most likely, Lindsey Graham was down below getting it on with a few little boys and took one in the wazoo, if you know what I'm saying. Now we have foreign leaders that are done playing these games with the US. Oh, you used to be safe going over to these war zones. Oh, you used to ride over there with your favorite country music singer and put on a show. Keep doing that. How about Ted Cruz? Why don't you go take a trip over to Kyiv and check out these drones? Somebody's got to investigate Lindsey Graham. At least 5 of our most powerful politicians need to go over to Kyiv and demand an investigation. And then you might as well tell Russia that you're over there visiting those drone facilities, because the rest of the world doesn't give a fuck. What just happened, what it seems like, is that Russia said, you want to fuck around and find out? They just wiped Lindsey Graham off the fucking map for the entire world to see, because they don't give a fuck. Look at this was Lindsey Graham. They told us it was a brief illness. He was overcome by a brief and something illness. How is it brief? The fucker's dead. That's about as permanent. That's as far from brief as humanly possible. But I digress. This was Lindsey Graham just hours before he miraculously was overcome by a brief illness. Check this out.
I'm pleased to announce, as of about 30 minutes ago, we've reached agreement with the White House on a version of the Russian sanctions bill that they will support. It means it's going to become law.
Yeah.
So when I get back to Washington, I'm going to go with Senator Blumenthal to the Republican and Democratic leader to see if we can find time to move this Russian sanctions package that would give tools to President Trump to help end this war.
And you want to know why the U.S. is terrified that anybody finds out the truth about Lindsey Graham? Because Russia, a foreign country, just assassinated a U.S. senator. They roll around in fucking motorcades. And if you all of a sudden, if Russia had the green light to do it, do you know how many countries probably would love to when they see these assholes over on their fucking turf trotting around? Oh, we're going to put a military base in your fucking backyard. And these countries are like, yeah, we don't think we should do that. You know, normally it's like, this is Sparta, right? You come into fucking Rome and you make fucking demands, or you come around our territory and you make demands. This is Sparta, right? That's how the world wants to fucking treat America, but it's been gloves on. Well, if Russia's able to do it, is it time to take is the rest of the world, is the United States government terrified that if anybody finds out that Russia assassinated Lindsey Graham, that all of a sudden all around the country, every time our politicians go to these places, they might just not be safe anymore? I think so. Let me know what you guys think.
Well, let me just say this much. Stop. I'll say this much, and I'll pass it over to Fee. Russia does care. They have always cared. They've been trying to work something out. They want to be part of the American economy. So for him to just say Russia doesn't give a fuck, whatever. And also, by the way, that drone factory they was at was not on the list of the list that they had put forth. We don't know if that was the drone factory that was hit. This is all speculation. And Fee, you've been out there before. You work for RT for quite some time. You lived out there. You get a sense of what's going on. I played this video because it has over close to 600,000 views, right? And people will start believing this stuff and this information that it doesn't even seem like it was fact-checked. Your opinions, Fee?
It's not just this guy. I mean, it's been everybody from Kim Iverson to, Nick, just everybody running with this thing as if Russia has ever behaved this way. We can't just if you're doing analysis, you've got to look at things fact-based, evidence-based. We have zero evidence of any of the stuff this guy just said or any of the stuff that people are saying. This isn't me saying, oh, Russia is so saintly and Putin would never. It's understanding how the Russian government works. They're an extremely pragmatic government. We have Kirill Dmitriev, who has continuously gone to Donald Trump to remove the sanctions every single month. And he has said that they want to have an economic relationship with the United States. The problem is the United States never gives a fair deal. So you have other people in the Kremlin that are like, this is ridiculous, like Lavrov. You shouldn't trust the Trump administration. They're just running circles around us. And he even said recently, I hope the Alaska summit wasn't just a way to hold off, to give Kiev more time to replenish its stocks, to plan its next move. Russia is stuck between a rock and a hard place. Russia is not winning anymore. They were for the last 2 years, from 2022 to 2024, almost 2025. But now the information I'm getting, and I'll just be pretty, frank about it, is information directly from people on the ground in Russia, from people that are very close to me. My partner is Russian. There's family members involved. This is not what you are getting. You are getting told the NATO story, right? That Russia is evil, they're terrible, that the United States needs to protect the world from Russia, that NATO needs to protect the world from Russia, that Putin wants to bomb the EU to no end. That's not true. Then you're getting just the RT sector of the story where it's just like, everything's wonderful in Russia. Come to Russia. Everything's great. Everything's so cheap here. Everything is beautiful and gorgeous. And there's no problems at all, which is also false. So the problem with this analysis is that it lacks the understanding that Vladimir Putin would never do something so just impulsive as to kill a US leader. In fact, we have only seen the United States and Israel be the ones that have killed US leadership or other leaderships from other countries, including their own, by the way. And so for me, if anybody was going to try to hit anybody, it would be Israel, or it would be somebody connected to the United States. Now, Lindsey Graham, we all know he's known as, everybody knows that he was, or at least suspects that he is gay, and he has been repressed, and this is why he was always, homophobic. But a lot of people have dived into these stories, and I tend to look at everything with questions, and I tend to look at everything just completely with a lot of curiosity, right? I'm not saying it's out of the possible realm if Lindsey Graham was there and somehow Russia did something to against Ukraine that he got caught in that, and the U.S. would cover it up. Of course, they would cover it up. But Lindsey Graham was also overweight, old, and his father had also had heart disease problems. In fact, the majority of our Congress is very old and geriatric. The fact that they're not all dropping dead is insane to me. They're all extremely unhealthy, old, extremely under stress. I don't really see why we have to invent all of this stuff going on around it. Is it coincidental? No. Lindsey Graham has gone to Kiev many times before. So again, I'm not hearing anybody bring up any evidence other than speculation. I'm not hearing any understanding of the Russian government not doing this. Why did they kill Trump? Why did they kill other people? They had every opportunity. Why haven't they done this? Is Lindsey Graham that big of a problem for them? No, nobody likes Lindsey Graham. A lot of people don't like Lindsey Graham, except the people that work in the US that are giving him accolades. And even those people don't like him. They just don't like to talk foul about dead people. But the reality is, there is no reason why Russia would just have to kill Lindsey Graham. If the United States wants to continue sanctioning Russia, if the United States wants to continue pushing Russia and Ukraine into a European war versus Russia, they will. And if that doesn't happen now, they're going to wait for the next guy to come in and do it. They don't need to have Lindsey Graham alive or dead for that to happen. So that's all I'm going to say for now.
Before I pass it to Matt, and I know, Matt, you're looking at the chop to get in there. Jayme, you move me in or what? Come on. Get me in, Jayme. Thank you. And not because she's my friend, Kim Iverson, and not because I like him, Nick Cruz. But there is definitely, I would say, and I'll let Matt piggyback on this and I'll let you jump in, because I am leaning. I told Matt that right now I'm saying that if I had a final answer, I would say it's vaccine induced. That, you know what I'm saying? Maybe that we've seen pictures of him taking the vaccine. Once again, we don't even know if he took a fucking placebo or whatever the case may be, but he is fat, out of shape, whatnot. But even what Larry Johnson said, working out the timeline. But with all those people, what they're saying, though, fam, it does seem like it could be logical that it could be possible that he was killed in Russia by Russians or in Kiev. I mean, it doesn't seem like off the reservation and out of the realm. He was just over there. And we were talking last week with Vanessa Beeley about they got to start bombing these drone facilities. Enough is enough. Putin doesn't necessarily need to bomb drone facilities and manufacturers in Europe. He can bomb the drone facilities here in Kiev and destroy them. So it doesn't seem like it's completely off the reservation, even though I don't necessarily believe it, but it does seem logical. And Matt, I'll let you jump in before we bring feedback in to reply to all that. But I'm sorry, I am leaning towards what Fiorella is saying. It doesn't seem like the practical government, and they go overboard. Minsk 1 and Minsk 2, 7-8 years for that shit, trying to get to a deal with a country who seems like they don't give a shit about you. They always work things through the international court. and for trying to avoid a conflict with the United States for so long and wanting to get back into economic deals with them. This seems like this would go completely against, Matt, what they were trying to do for many years. She mentioned Dmitry Kirill. I mean, come on, Matt.
So, yes, I think that you need to have evidence before making a claim about Russia. I appreciate, Fee, your breakdown of and looking at the likelihood of does this line up with previous actions by Russia. I hear you on that, and I'm with you on that. I think the biggest takeaway from this, and I think Ryan Mata got to a little bit of this in his video, the part about what this looks like from the global stage. I think that part's the most important here. How we're responding to this. How is it that, because from my vantage point, it looks like there was definitely a cover-up on where he died. I believe he died in Kyiv. I believe that happened. How do we respond to that? We have to get him out of there, get him back to DC, and make this a normal happening. Hey, these things happen. We know that we talk about the COVID vax injury stuff. I do think that's likely that he had a sudden incident in Kyiv, and then we had to fly him back. Why? This is the question we need to be asking. Why are the Russiagate enthusiasts not immediately saying, let's pin this on Russia? Why are they not doing
there
that?
are some.
They
That's
are.
next week.
There are.
Some.
Larry Loomer's out there saying, go. Go. We need to get Russia.
Okay. Okay. Not the Zionist faction. I mean the ones, the Ukraine flag wearing people that have been that we're helping Ukraine. We're helping Ukraine. We have to stop Putin. We have to stop Putin from taking over the world. Why are they not initially suspect? And you're only, we obviously you mentioned friends of ours and people that have been skeptical of everything the whole way. And I get it. It's going out on a limb to say that this definitely was Russia. But I do think that the world's perception is important right now, that an empire like we have, that we've been part of this empire. We're not in a position to make accusations right now and threaten people and threaten Putin. We have to kind of walk this back and get him back to DC and pretend this happened in a time frame that doesn't really make sense. What is your thoughts on that, Fee? The time frame on this? How does he even travel back and have this happen in DC Saturday night? And if he's only in Kyiv for less than 2 days, going to the facility and then leaving immediately, it's a little weird. So I mean, I don't know what your thoughts on that, but I'm just trying to keep open on all of it. That's all.
Yeah, I understand the openness. I mean, I think it's possible that he could have been killed as collateral damage, if anything. But again, there's zero evidence to that. Would the United States try to hide that? I don't think they try to hide it. I think they try to utilize it against Russia or against Iran if they could. So what do I think happened? I think it's Occam's razor. I think he literally when you fly, there's also a change in altitude. There's a lot of things that happen when you are of a certain age and you have the comorbidities that he has. It is very possible that he could have just arrived and literally died. I feel like we're getting to a point, because this world is so insane and our timeline is crazy, that I understand why people are suspect of everything that is happening, because there's so much crazy stuff happening that I understand why people are super suspect. But on the other end of the spectrum, there has to be some sort of something that you're saying, okay, here's the evidence. And when I look at things like Russia wouldn't do that, they just wouldn't. That's not their MO. That's our MO. That's what we would do. That's what our intelligence apparatus would do. That's what Israel would do. But it's not what Russia would do. If they especially when there are far more important people to assassinate than Lindsey Graham, far more important people to get rid of. And so, especially when you have Putin listening to Kirill Dmitriev, who is working with the Kushners and Stephen Witkoff, who is wanting this whole thing. Now, Russia, again, is seeing they're not getting anything out of talking to the U.S. The sanctions are still coming. Kiev is still it being aided by NATO and the United States. So they are stuck between a rock and a hard place. Either they go after Ukraine's weapons depots and its most vital sites, or they go to war with Europe, or they try to negotiate and get a really bad deal with the United States. They really don't have that many options simultaneously. Internally, Russia's having a lot of issues domestically. There's literally people are waiting in line for gas. This isn't a lie. This isn't a Ukraine bullshit lie. I would never do that. This is reality. Okay. Literally, people are waiting in line in Moscow for 30 minutes, sometimes an hour for gas. Gas is going up. They're putting in bad gas with good gas. Why is Russia running out of gas? It is a nation that produces gas. What is going on? There's so many things that aren't being talked about when the way it's being presented, and this is my biggest problem by a lot of people on social media, is Putin just took down Trump. Look, he's showing him who's boss. Look what, that's not, when has Putin done that? Putin does things very understated. Whenever he takes actions that are very much directed to a single point. He's not boastful. He doesn't go out there and try to make a big entrance. That's Trump. That's the United States. They don't do that. So again, even if it's possible, Matt, I of course it's possible in this world, but I'm just not seeing why Russia would do something that out of character when they're trying to figure out how to continue this war, what to do. They're supposed to have more drafts, and all of this stuff is happening at the same time. Why would they preoccupy themselves by killing Lindsey Graham? Like it just
he could have been collateral damage, but we do know that Russia was targeting these drone facilities because why? Because these drone facilities have weapons that their intent is to kill Russian civilians with these weapons that Lindsey Graham was posing with. The last picture he's in, he's posing with a weapon, a drone that's going to murder innocent Russian citizens. That's so this could have been a collateral damage. And I think the more important point again is how do we respond to this? Not the Larry Loomers. I mean, how about elected officials? Why are our elected officials not saying we need to investigate this and go after Putin? They're all getting along with this whole, it just happened suddenly back in DC. And I don't think the math lines up. I don't think there's enough hours in the day on Saturday for him to make it back and for this to happen back in DC. I don't see that.
Before I hand it off to you, Pasta, I just want to say, I think that the reason you're not seeing that is because there's nothing for them to do. I think the opposite, if they did have something, they would use it. You have a bunch of Democrats who despise Russia and Putin, and they would absolutely go after them. And you have a bunch of people that even in the Republican Party who hate them that are looking for excuses. That you could have them blame this with Iran, and some of them are doing that already, right? It's not, as you said, not everybody, but it's if they had something, anything that was remotely plausible, I think that they would do it. I think the perception point that you're making is, I think perception-wise, the United States and Israel have lost a lot of credibility in the world. They've lost a lot of respect from a lot of people based on what's happened in West Asia and a lot of the things that have been happening in Gaza and all of this stuff, even internally, right, that we're going to discuss. But apart from that, guys, apart from that, what is the United States doing right now? They're literally taking countries one by one. They're interfering, they're expanding, they're making sure that their interests are at play. I don't see them as losing. I don't see them as being looked on as it's one thing to have this perception that we're all getting, and it's another thing to talk to regular people, and then another thing to look at the strategies that the United States is using along with Israel, how they're capturing governments left and right, how now we're arresting more and more journalists, we're arresting activists, we're losing our rights. I don't look at that as them losing. I look at that as them winning. And I just don't see how Russia would kill purposely. I do think what you're saying about collateral damage is a possibility, and that the U.S., but I just don't have, the issue with that is I don't understand why they would cover it up. Because
we don't have the means we don't have the ability to follow through on a direct war with Russia right now. A direct, not a proxy, a direct. I think you're overestimating Russia's capabilities right now. And I think a lot of people are, unfortunately. And I hate saying that.
Can I give you a different theory, though? To play devil's advocate, 6 months ago, they tried to whack Putin. Maybe that was a bridge that was that was the line that was crossed over where they said enough is enough. Now you're going to try to kill the president of Russia? Okay, everybody's fair game. And why not go after the biggest anti-Russia fucking representative lawmaker out there in Lindsey Graham? I don't know. I mean, it is logical. I'm not saying it is what I believe in, but I'm just saying there is logical reasons to believe that they could have done this at this point because they just crossed the line now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Lindsey Graham have a little power, Fee. Doesn't he have enough like ear to Trump? He's had that power to influence policy, not just in Ukraine, not just in Iran, but Venezuela, Cuba. I mean, this guy is standing right next to him, like 1 centimeter away from him. Every time it's like, we're going to go Cuba's next, mother effers. Like this guy's been that guy next to Trump this whole time. So I think that's a loss as far as Trump's ability to communicate the messaging of every single one of these is that we're the good guys saving the day, murdering people for their own good.
Yeah, this is not something Russia would do, even if they were like they don't do this tit for tat thing. Like, I would even dare say that they haven't acted enough against Ukraine. Even you mentioned, this is what I forgot. You mentioned about because, these are the weapons that are being used to kill Russians. Yep. It took them like 8 years to go into Donbass because they were waiting for the right moment. They didn't think it was the right time.
Dragging their
Meanwhile,
feet.
Russians were dying. The Communist Party of Russia was pushing them to go in sooner, and Putin refused. Why? Because they didn't have the ability to do it at that moment. They weren't secure in that ability to do it. So they put pragmatics before their feelings. They're not Iran. And even Iran, when have we seen Iran go, as much as during the mourning process of Imam Khamenei, you've seen people say, call for the death of Trump and all of that. That's the Islamic religious aspect of, yes, revenge is valued. It's a form of attack. That's Iran, though. Russia doesn't behave like that. So again, I'm not seeing the evidence that they would, especially since they have been criticized by their own people for not going after Ukraine harder, for Ukraine killing students, Ukraine bombing inside Russia. How are the drones getting in? Where's the air defense? Like, there's so many things that they're not doing to really go after. They're trying to work both sides, and it's just not working. So for them to do that, it just doesn't scream something that they would do. So that's all. I know we're talking about this for a while, so I don't want to keep going, but go ahead, guys. If you,
it's good to keep the possibilities open, and like you said initially, just get as much evidence as we can. But in the meantime, it's okay to ask these questions. I think it's totally fine because because everything's so weird and moving so fast. And and those COVID jabs, those aren't. I know some people think it's been too many years to be thinking about that, but man, no, not at all, not at all. That is still a thing. We're into year 6, but there's a 10-year marker, and then there's another 15-year marker. We're still in the experimental phase of that. So that's another part of the equation.
What's the last tweet? And thank you so much, Citizen Bendejo, who just came jumping on in. We'll get to your super chats right after we finish this section before we get to the next one. I did have this tweet up over here, Matt, when we was talking about some of the people who are trying to, go ahead, Jayme, throwing on up, the people who are trying to, the lefties who were trying to really make this bigger than it is. I'm now convinced that Lindsey Graham was killed in Ukraine by a Russian airstrike on a drone factory. Trump is covering up so to prevent himself from being in a position where we need to escalate it, but cannot because he's blown through all of the critical stockpiles in his stupid Middle East war fiasco. So he and the Keystone Kash Patel, and you can tell this is a lefty from those stupid comments and those nicknames, the world's worst FBI director, probably the worst administration in modern history, U.S. presidential history, concoct this most stupid cover story claiming that Lindsey died in his sleep late last night. Jayme, can you scroll up, please? By the way, we have figured out with Lindsey that late last night to call 911. You see, just like the Charlie Kirk story, the official narrative is full of inconsistencies and a slapdash storytelling. All those resources at the government's disposal, and they still can't cannot concoct decent, believable cover stories. So, obviously there are people out there starting to use this to try to say, oh, this is what's going on. Trump is being played by Putin. They're trying to cover this up. These are lefties complaining that Lindsey was killed by a Russian, by Russians. You know what I'm saying? Lefties crying about Lindsey. And then you have one last tweet there, Fee. What is this here?
No, I mean, everything I said, like, I just don't think they would do it. And by the way, I was waiting for champagne. I know Pasta hates this, but Lindsey Graham, I hope he's resting in hell. Okay, he was one of the worst people that existed, and this is why I know a lot of people were so happy and jubilant about this whole thing, because people are like, of course he's hateful, he's vile, he's talking about sanctioning Russia, bombing Iran. He's a hateful, vile person. So people like that, it's like, yeah, you're right. Anybody could want to kill them, right? Anybody would want to get rid of them. So yeah, I mean, good riddance to him, because I think, the world is we've had so many dark things happening, and we still do. And there's so much happening that we don't even have a chance to talk about on this show today. But, I'm not mad he's gone. I just think it was more of a natural thing.
Yeah. I did say really quickly though that okay, I'm not one to piss on somebody's grave and everything like that, but no respect should be paid towards Lindsey Graham. I will say that fucking much. You shouldn't be paying respects to this man. He wasn't no great patriot or anything else. He was one of the most vile men in the world. And some people said they went to church the other day to thank God for delivering them a victory of sorts. Go ahead, Matt. Wrap it up.
I think that this is exactly what needs to be said exactly at this time. We should absolutely make an exception to the rule of, and the common human decency rule is you don't speak ill of the dead, especially. But we make these exceptions in times like these because it's important as humanity goes. It's important that we identify the people on this planet that have murdered and killed and are responsible for just massive destruction and death across the globe in their career. And with them being gone and this guy being no longer on this earth, this is a good thing. There's less people that will be affected now. And it's just on a principle level, we need to yell about this when it happens. I think that, we're not going to fall for this with the whole Donald Rumsfeld died and we can't say anything bad. Henry Kissinger. There's a whole list of people that, just be careful, be cautious. No, we're not going to be cautious. We're going to tell people this is what you get. And if we do this regularly with these type of people, it sends a message to the rest of humanity that if you want to live a life where your existence means the death and destructions of millions of other people, then you have this coming for you too. And so we should stand behind this, this language that is appropriate right now for this guy. Absolutely.
Topher 100 or 10,100 says, I don't wish death on anyone, but I do read some obituaries with enthusiasm. That's it. But I did go to church the other day and say, thank you, God, for getting rid of these psychopaths. Matt, you got to get out of here.
I think so.
Right.
Yeah, this is my out, but I'm glad we got to do a little of the three of us here. So that's great.
Go ahead. So let everybody know where they can find you, what you got going on, what's in the works for the homeless left.
Okay, we got a big show tomorrow. So you guys check us out on Rumble, the homeless left on Rumble. The YouTube channel no longer exists. We didn't have a right to exist because we were too dangerous for the community and they took us down. So it's THL Presents on YouTube, our new channel. THL Presents will be multi-streaming that tomorrow. And we're on usually every week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, all afternoon.
Thank you so much, Matt Weinglass. We love you, brother.
Absolutely. Thanks,
you,
guys.
Matt.
All right.
Okay. Fam, let's get on. Let's read some of these starred comments over here real quick. In the beginning, good morning to all. Chris Allegri jumped in. We want to thank you for the super chat. It's always appreciated on the TruthWire. Oregon represent. Thank you, Chris Allegri. It's always appreciated on the TruthWire. Sorry. El Rey Labubu. Did I say that right? El Rey Labubu. What's your opinion on the Argentinian newscaster that said he detests Mexicans with his soul there, is a hatred of the South Americans towards Mexican?
I probably am best to answer this. I don't think there's a hatred of South Americans towards Mexicans. I think there's just racism in Latin America in general. People assume that only North Americans are racist. There's just the United States has its problems, but so does South America. They were built on colonialism. They were built on this idea of they had more of a mixing between the European settlers and the indigenous people, which is why you have the mestizaje in Latin America. But there are some countries that didn't really go that route. For example, Paraguay, actually, after there was the Triple Alliance War in the 1800s, they lost a lot of their people. And so what happened was they asked for immigration from Europe, Ukraine, Germany, France, Japan. So in Paraguay today, you have more European-looking people than you would in other parts of South America, say, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, even Venezuela, where you have Afro descendants as well. And so there's always been this caste system. I mean, it was so specific that it went from like, if the mother, and I forgot this because I knew all this, if the mother was Spanish and the father was native, it was one thing. If the father was European and the mother was, it was like these different classes, right? Criollos and all this crap. So that has stayed with people. And mostly the indigenous people who are truly indigenous have really separated themselves. And so you have this problem that ends up happening throughout Latin America. Argentina right now is hated because Messi. And I get so irritated, fam, that people tell me, like, what do I know about soccer? First of all, it's football. Second of all, I've literally watched it my whole life. So, like, yes, the one sport I do watch and that I do know about and that I did play as a child and like this whole thing. But like, aside from that, I think Argentina just has this reputation because of the Nazis escaping there, which, by the way, Josef Mengele also escaped to Paraguay and then to Brazil afterwards. So it's not just Argentina. I do think like you can't generalize and say all Argentinians are like this. It's the fact that they're so preferred in the FIFA and that Messi is just being watched. Like, everybody's watching how they like give Argentina so many more penalties, like penalty kicks, how they give the other teams red cards, especially during the Egypt game and the Cabo Verde game. And so so it's enraging. Yeah, and I do think Argentina does have a background where there is a lot of that. There's a lot of Zionism now with the Isaac Accords and Milei, and we've seen Netanyahu say he favors Argentina as a team. So of course you're going to get hatred for Argentina, but I just don't think you can generalize and say, oh, South Americans hate Mexicans. I love Mexicans. I love everything about Mexicans, Mexican food, Mexican people. They're the best. I've worked in restaurants and they were the worst, the best workers. Like it's just always, and I just love it. I think it's hard to generalize. I just think Latin America has a problem with
I've always said that in the restaurant business, Mexican chefs, for some reason, are the best. You can find them working in any culture of food. I've seen Mexicans run sushi bars, Italian restaurants, pizzerias. They are the most adaptable, I think, when it comes to any of the Latin American workers in, at least in LA, from what I witnessed. It was always like, holy shit, like there's a lot of versatility to their game. By the way, Fred Edwards said that Lindsey would make the 21-hour trip twice, picking up some of that cash. He's not just going to be going there once. Jeremy Scahill of Dropsite News, who was formerly of The Intercept, reports that Iranian negotiators now request Trump receive psychological counseling, I guess, before he steps into the room.
He did confuse them for Japan. The Islamic Republic of
twice,
Japan.
right? He did it twice.
Craig, the memes were killing me.
I know, they're all over the place. Craig is the coolest gay dude on the internet, the entire internet. Let's go. If you mean gay by happy, yes, I'm that person. Thank you for the super chat contribution from Citizen Pendejo. Could we use the Matt Tyler Garland thumbnail for tomorrow, huh? Tomorrow's show. And finally, Yo Pasta Fiorella, I'm so thrilled you got your monetization back. Craig with the Cookie Monster. So we want to thank you all for watching the show today. Let's talk a little bit about flock cameras, fam, because this is what it's all about. And I am so proud of so many people out there from both sides of the aisles, from all political ideologies, pushing back against data centers and flock cameras. That is taking place on a regular basis. But we do have a serious problem, fam, because we need to get the flock out of here. Everything is flocked up beyond repair, it seems like. I mean, it's just going to be so long before we can get all these flock cameras down. Let's take a look at the first thing I put up over here today. When we're talking about flock cameras being track and trace, this is from a local Fox News station right around the corner. And it's kind of cool because I took tweets from the Patriot Blonde. I took Patriots from Democrats. That's the cool thing about flock camera. The pushback we see against it is cutting across party lines, and that's what makes me happy. So take a look at this.
All right, well, license plate cameras have helped police solve homicides, find missing children, and recover stolen cars. But a growing number of cases are raising questions about who's watching the watchers, so to speak. In Milwaukee, for example, a second police officer is now facing criminal charges for allegedly misusing the flock camera system to track people for personal reasons. Closer to home, Westland police have decided not to pursue renewing the city's flock camera contract after months of community concerns about privacy, transparency, and oversight. Well, joining us now is attorney Eli Mawad to talk about the legal concerns, privacy, and whether there are enough safeguards. Thank you for coming in and talking to us tonight.
Nice to see you, Dave.
So what's your take overall on this? I mean, this is a delicate balance, obviously.
So as a criminal defense attorney, we get a lot of business from the flock cameras. Lately, you've been seeing a lot more mentions with law enforcement on flock cameras. The United States Supreme Court has said you put your car out there in the public, you're subject to have your license plate read. It's fair game. Doesn't violate the Constitution. If it's you see a lot of the flocks on the expressways and highways that are controlled by the state, so they're legal if the city wants them or if the state wants them.
So what kind of legislation or reform do people want to see as far as the storage of this kind of information and who ultimately accesses it?
So the concern is that they're going to take that information, share it with other states. But I've seen other states, law enforcement officials from other states ask Michigan, we need your flock to see if they're in that state for an investigation. There is a concern that private companies are going to take that information and do stuff with it if it's sent to private. So the legislature has to kind of pare down who can use the flocks for what purpose and what you can and cannot do with it.
It seems like this technology is moving faster than lawmakers and policymakers really can move in their debate on this on both sides.
I will tell you, the majority of people that are public safety conscious want them. Westland, really, this is probably the first city that I've seen that is really, really, really against them. And the city council member said, look, they're so against them, we are not going to renew the contract with the flock company. So I guess it depends what type of politics you have and what your community mainly is, more right, more left, maybe more independent. But to a lot of people, nobody pays attention to the flocks anyway. It's only people that are either arrested by them or because of them, or some people that see them on the streets and make a comment on them. Boy, I don't really like people watching me.
On one hand, it seems that we see a lot of police chiefs defending it across Metro Detroit, across the state. There's also a grassroots movement going from city council to city council meeting, urging elected officials to say no to renewals or to drop any consideration if they haven't used it already.
Yeah, and I can tell you that when I've talked to police officers, at least on my cases, they love the flock but they also say, well, if they help in kidnapping, they help in shootings, they help in so many situations that if, let's say me, if I was kidnapped, they have my plate number, somebody takes me in my car, you're going to want that flock out there. You're going to want that security. So a lot of people like it, but a lot of people don't like it. Right now, you got to have a balance.
Yeah, we just had a carjacking we were reporting on tonight.
Yeah.
We don't know if flock has been assisting law enforcement in that, but it's just one of those things that we'll have to keep watching.
If a license plate was involved, I guarantee a flock was involved.
All right. Attorney Eli Mawad, thank you so much for coming in on Friday night.
So, Sam, I think that was a really good way to open up this section because this is the growing argument there. You know, I like to look at the mainstream media sometimes, even the local media, to get a sense of what people are feeling, what they're saying. And to me, it's just really scary when I hear her talking about it. Like private companies that have everything. Remember, they're not just seeing your plate. They can see everything with a flock camera. And the fact that they're just, you know what I'm saying, when he had said that the Supreme Court says, okay, you don't have a right to privacy when you're in public, but there's an expected kind of right to privacy of sorts. Like you're not expecting everything to be mapped and filmed the whole time. And who is the one to make the decision? When you say the city, is it the citizens that have to go directly to the citizens and ask them if they want it? Could the representatives go ahead and choose it? I mean, there are so many questions about these flock cameras, but for some of us, this is the beginning of the dystopian 1984 world, and we need to push back against it. And we'll talk a little bit more as we go down the road about what you can do in city councils. You know, Andrew Zigman, who does my show on Fridays, Andrew from the Action for Assange People fam, he says that he's going to put bags, or he told people put bags over them, and the most they can do is charge you with littering. But how much could they charge you? Could they bankrupt you? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered. We see flock cameras getting hit down by citizens all over the place. We do see people praising them and saying, look how many people's lives they can save. Your thoughts, fam, as this flock situation is exploding. And by the way, this is the key piece to the fourth industrial great reset mentality of track and tracing everybody all over the place. It's something that Larry Ellison said on the second day of the Trump administration, the second administration of Trump, where he goes, there'll be no crime because there'll be cameras everywhere. Well, it's already happening, fam.
Yeah, so a lot of these cameras actually exist in Russia. Not necessarily the same ones, but the speed control cameras are actually more developed there. And there's cameras everywhere in Moscow, which is one of the reasons why they have the lowest crime rate. So it does work in some ways because you're being watched at all times, and it does prevent crime in many ways. So, but there has to be an alternative to it in a place like the United States where people do value, you know, their liberties, and we have a constitution. It's completely different in other parts of the world. And this is something that I think is unique to the United States, where people are very, very much individualist, but not just in the sense of being individualist, but also in the sense of really paying attention to things like this that perhaps people in other countries are just not used to paying attention to. Is it, if I had a daughter that was kidnapped by a pedophile and was being, you know, taken, and a flock camera saved her life, I would probably be pro flock camera. So I understand why some of these people look at it that way. I understand that they're looking at it as something to be used for good. The problem is that we have a government that is psychopathic and that does nothing to help. They're not doing this because they want to help little girls get safe from pedophiles. The pedophiles are sitting in Washington, D.C. So why are they doing this, right? They're not doing this to help us. That's the PR aspect of it. Yeah. Can it help us on the way? Yes, it can. But what is the overall purpose and end goal is to be able to spy on every single American, to be able to have an entire surveillance grid built. And when you have private companies and corporations that are basically operating like the state and are basically in control of all of this information, information is money, data is money, it's power in this world, then you're in a point where you can't just say, well, we're going to save a bunch of people, so we need to put more surveillance cameras, because other governments actually do stuff for their people to help their people. Our government to this day has not shown me that that's what it's doing. So
this is the Ben Franklin quote, and this is why I'm so against these things. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety themselves. And I do feel that way. You know, it is not something worthy of, like, the ends don't justify the means. This is something that's going to be used and weaponized all the time. And that's why I do like to see some, like, Democrats out there or Democrat-friendly sites that are reporting some of the good news. Evanston, Illinois ordered flock safety to be removed all cameras after the state audit revealed that the company was illegally sharing Illinois data with federal agencies. And that's what's going to happen. You heard that another police agent comes in, let me see your flock. They can go look at this at any time. You can't give people that power, right? Once you do that, they're going to abuse it and they're going to use it, and you need to protect it. So
Great.
there is a video I have over here too as well, fam. I want to show you of a cop. Go ahead, Jayme, get the next video up of a cop talking and saying, I mean, it is scary. He goes, we know you were inside this town from this time to that time, like the exact times. You got it, Jayme?
It's Minority Report. We're pretty much.
It is like Minority Report.
Yeah, we're pretty much there.
All right, so this is a cop questioning a woman right over here, and listen to the time. He tells her the exact time she's in, from 11:52 to 12:09. We know you're in town. That is creepy, fucked up shit. Here we go.
We have cameras everywhere in that town. You can't get a breath of fresh air in or out without us knowing.
Chrisana Elzer learned the power of Flock firsthand.
You were in town from 11:52 until 12:09. Exactly. Like I said, nothing gets in or out of the town without us knowing.
When a Colorado police officer showed up at her door holding Flock snapshots of her truck.
And here's when you left at 12:09. That's when you left town.
To get.
No, to stop at Ridge Trail.
Wait a minute.
And take a package. Well, there's no shushing. I don't need to be.
I need to know where this is.
The first thing he pulled out on the body cam is that Flock picture, the clear photograph of your car.
But here's your vehicle in the neighborhood many, many times, apparently casing houses, because you just can't drive through for work or visit other businesses. You can only be casing houses.
It is her. It is 100%. It is locked in. There is zero doubt. I wouldn't have come here unless I was 100% sure. 100%. It is certain. It is on video. You're obviously welcome to go to court.
Chrisana was charged with stealing a package, but it wasn't her. The porch pirate was somebody else.
Multiple times you tried to show him your video evidence. He didn't want to see it.
Even when I called him back, he said, that's not my job.
You looked at the time of a crime. You saw my vehicle entering in the Flock.
No, what I did was I did an investigation.
You called my wife a liar. You said this is fact.
I have video evidence. I don't know what you want me to say.
The charges were dropped after Chrisana spent weeks trying to get the police chief to look at her evidence. Time-stamped video from her truck and a neighbor's doorbell camera showing she wasn't at the scene of the crime.
What does it say about where we are that you feel you have to have more cameras than the police have in order to make sure you can prove yourself innocent?
It sounds like it flipped the script to you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent.
Without a Flock camera, that detective would not have been at her door. By his own admission, he pulled out the Flock picture of her car. Do you want to apologize to Chrisana Elzer for what happened to her?
For the police misusing the tools? I don't think that I have to apologize.
He wasn't charged with a crime. He wasn't, other than being reprimanded for his attitude.
Sure. No, but I would tell you that, should I apologize for somebody misusing a tool? I don't think so.
Flock Safety Chief Communications Officer Josh Thomas.
Who's watching the watchers in these cases?
Well, the city council. The city owns the data, so city council would have the appropriate responsibility in that case. Our point of view has always been that it is not Flock's job to police the way police do their work.
I got a video up next, fam. I brought up JP Sears, right? And JP Sears was kind of like I don't want to say conservative. I met him at the Defeat the Mandates in Washington, D.C. is when we first met him. And, he definitely leans a little bit more to the conservative side, but his whole video over here, I think, is hysterical, fam. I don't know if you want to say anything about that last video over there, but this is some crazy, creepy shit. And the fact that police officer, once again, that police officer was sworn. He swore to protect the Constitution. What is on that police officer's mind when you would mention the Fourth Amendment to him? Unlawful searches and seizures are not supposed to take place against American citizens. They're fucking filming everything. And, once again, the ends don't justify the means in this situation, yet these things are going up everywhere, fam. The picture of the United States of now Flock's going with the blue dots are going everywhere. And they're using these things on a regular basis, not to mention that they're sharing personal data across different agencies. This is fucking crazy shit.
Yeah, what she said is right. She said it's now flipping the script to guilty until proven innocent because they have they can even manipulate things. We don't know.
Yeah.
There was a story months and months ago when I was writing about this stuff about a woman who wanted to do an abortion and how Texas, I think it was officers found out and they were like trying to like chase her over it because of the flock cameras, because they're pretty prominent over there. So it can be something as like that, right? Like it's just it's going to grow. This is only the beginning, because now it's just like dumb stuff, and they always lead with the emotional. Oh well, but if so and so is kidnapped, or if so and so is this, and you would want these cameras there, right? But they're not doing it for that reason, and that's what people have to remind themselves, is that they're not doing it for that reason. They're doing it for the nefarious reason. And maybe these police officers don't know that, because, or don't look at it that way, because I'm not going to say every police officer, because you know how I feel about cops, but let's say that there's some police officers that actually do want to do their job, that do want to help people out. They think they're helping people by stopping crime, right? They think like they're doing this the right way. This is how it works. It's the system then that's the problem. You can go yell at the cop, but ultimately the cop isn't the one in power. It's not even the city council. It's like, if the city council has something that they can change, then it's going to be up to the people. But when you're fighting against corporations and private companies that have endless amounts of resources, the fight isn't a fair fight.
Yeah. And who's going to control that data, own that data, look at that data, sell that data, manipulate that data? It's fucking awful. Let's play the JP Sears. Fams, I want you to know, it's not spying, it's surveillance. Okay? Big difference.
This camera has been cut down, completely sprayed over with an American flag on it.
Would everyone please just quit cutting down our flock cameras?
Camera that once stood here is gone. All that's left is this pole across the street. Another one taken down as well.
Why is everyone so outraged about these things? They help protect you. They just cut down another one. It's destruction of property. Yeah, Kevin, I'm talking to you. Last 4 digits of your social, 7829. Yeah, you. This is getting nuts. People across the country cutting down our flock cameras. You see what the problem is? These lunatics think that our cameras that are surveilling the masses at all times are some kind of mass surveillance network. Hey, Lisa, how's the kids? No, you don't know me, but I know you. I'll be seeing you. I notice you've been shaking with that camera a little bit. You been hiding something? You should tell me. Our AI surveillance already knows the answer. Just admit it. As you can see, we're installing more of these things rapidly at all times. We need to get to the point where we have surveillance cameras surveilling our surveillance cameras, so we can catch these people cutting down our surveillance cameras. Oh, you're putting your privacy ahead of public safety? That's real mature. Loser? Was it 1905 Ocean Drive? Yeah, I know that. People are pissed because they think our flock cameras are used for warrantless spying. Folks are just misinformed. We're not spying, we're surveilling. Warrantless surveilling.
The technology itself has drawn criticism in the past from people concerned about the data they're collecting.
If you're not doing anything wrong, then why are you even concerned about your data being collected? What you gotta understand, all our flock cameras are doing is reading license plates and then alert police if that car is associated with a crime. I mean, it's safety. This is for everyone's protection. Reading some license plates.
Just got a $1,250 ticket in the mail for having my phone on my lap, face down, and both hands on the steering wheel.
Well, what crime was she about to commit with her phone in her lap? Blunt force trauma to her boyfriend's head? Sounds like we saved a life. Look at this, what flock cameras were able to do. A 3-month-old baby was recovered after abduction. The baby was detected with our flock cameras.
What does the community note say about that?
Local community members claim police stated that flock was not necessary for this case, and it appears flock may be paying news agencies for favorable coverage. Well, I wish they never found that baby.
These are flock cameras meant to read license plates and alert police if they're connected to crimes.
See, that's all they do. Read license plates. Nothing more. Have you seen these guys? They were cutting down flock cameras.
Those are people. I thought you said the cameras are just to read license plates.
Well, they are. We can also use them for anything else. These guys look like they're bipedal hominids. Let me know if you see them. Yeah, we're looking for bipedal hominids cutting down our cameras. So just start arresting anybody that fits that
That's good.
description.
You can see how it's going on. That thing goes. We did 3 minutes of JP series out of the 5 minute and 33 second thing with fam. I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't so fucking serious, but we can use them for anything else. We're not spying, we're surveilling. But these things have actually been said by advocates of flock cameras. He mentioned the whole 3-year-old baby situation. They're going to use these situations in which they do use them in a positive way and say that justifies it for using it for everything else. And by the way, the last thing I have, fam, is just a website of where you can go and start fighting against flock cameras and push back against them. The Real to Flock. Want to speak at your next city council about flock cameras or mass surveillance, but not sure where to start? We've put together some talking points. They put inside a doc. They got films, stuff that happens at city councils, talking points, whatnot. And I think people need to start doing this. They need to start showing up. Go to this website over here. Look at other people talking out against flock cameras and talk out against these. Go to your city councils if you can. Belittle these people. Let them know they need to take these things down, and they need to take them down tomorrow, fam. That's all I got for that section.
Yeah, and again, if they want other cameras, they can use other cameras that just record like regular cameras that have been up. They don't need to use the specific flock cameras that use AI and are tracing and tracking everybody. So, there's other things that they can use to actually protect people. They don't need to use the flock cameras.
Yeah.
The last thing, fam,
Please
I
do.
just want to mention, so I know you have to go. I just want to mention the last thing that we have.
I got a little extra time, so go ahead.
Okay. All right. Let me pull it up the stuff here.
Section 4, Jayme, we got something over there. What do we got? A tweet? Well, what would you like to talk about?
Yeah, it's a tweet because there's a U.S. activist, Fergie Chambers, was arrested in Spain, and the U.S. is demanding extradition to the United States. This is very, very troubling. It's probably one of the more troubling cases I've seen, right? Because I think a lot of us journalists have been detained on one end or the other. But this is what Kala Watch says. On Friday, Spanish police abducted Comrade Fergie Chambers on behalf of the Trump administration, now attempting to extradite him on the baseless political charges that could take up to 30 years in federal prison. Because of millions Fergie has given to Palestine fundraisers, anti-imperialist organizations, and bail funds for protesters, the U.S. is targeting him with completely unsubstantiated charges as part of their broader war of domestic repression. The federal charges include international money laundering with the intent to provide materials, support, and resources to foreign terrorist organizations, according to a sealed indictment reviewed by the Gray Zone. The indictment offers no evidence that Chambers has donated any money to foreign terrorist organizations. It merely states Chambers made numerous transfers of funds from banks in the U.S. to banks in Tunisia, where he relocated in late 2023. Free Fergie, free all political prisoners. So if you click on the Gray Zone tweet, it explains it further, and because there's an article. So if you click on the article, they talk about this. So Fergie Chambers, if you don't know, if you don't follow him on Twitter, he is actually one of the heirs to the Cox family fortune. So if you guys know Cox Media Group, I think you'd be quite familiar with that. So he gave his stock of that and completely closed ties, and then began donating to a bunch of like anti-imperialist causes. There's a lot of people a lot of like little media groups he funds. But even more importantly than that, this sets a huge dangerous precedent for anybody that say is pro-Palestine, anti-Israel, if you can be extradited now from wherever country you are that does have some sort of extradition thing with the United States based on non-evidence accusations. Like there's no evidence of money laundering or of ties to terrorism. The ties to terrorism are literal donations to pro-Palestinian efforts. Like they're tying it to Hamas, right? That sort of thing. And what does this do? Well, it really ties everybody underneath him up for research. Anybody that's worked with him, anybody that has any connections, believe me, they have their lists and they have their things that they know who works with who, right? And so now, will Spain cooperate? Has Spain said that they are going to cooperate? Spain supposedly has a not so Zionist leader in power right now. Unfortunately, this person is trashed because of the immigration issue that is happening in the EU. So what exactly is going to be the outcome of this? I don't think we know yet, right? But I see this as extremely one of the worst things to happen, because he was arrested in Ibiza, Spain, and if the Spanish government cooperates with the United States and lets them take an American citizen that's no longer living in the United States, that actually makes it so much worse for people like myself, for anybody that's like, that could just be tied. Any journalist, any activist, any person that has any sort of anti-Zionist, journalism, like any activism, they also mentioned in this article that there were eight anti-ICE protesters who got a combination of 450 years in jail. They were convicted. They're literally in jail for being anti-ICE protesters because Donald Trump tied them to Antifa, even if they have nothing to do with Antifa. But do you remember what happened after January 6th? Yeah. We told you that this was going to be what they were going to do. And all of these idiot liberals were cheering about going after the Republicans.
Domestic
and we were like, they're going to use this shit against you. And here we are, 6 years later, they are using it against the left. Yeah. That was always going to happen. Yep. This is something that everybody should speak out against. We should be against all political prisoners. Yep. This is really implicating a person that one of the only people with money that actually did something to help, anti-imperialists, and they're basically putting him in jail. I mean, this is just like there's no other way for some people to like work in journalism. This is it. Like we're getting squashed. It's gonna be any sort of journalism as you ever knew it is gonna be completely eradicated. They're going after everybody now, and so this should be definitely talked about, and really, really, people should be doing organizing against this. This should not be allowed, because it does put fear for even for me, any sort of thing that you say or do can be now sort of tied to Antifa, to terrorism, to anything. Now we're all domestic terrorists now.
We cried about this when we were saying this shouldn't happen after January 6th, when Biden put out an executive order pretty much classifying anybody with certain ideologies as a domestic terrorist. And we're like, this is not good. They are going to use it against you. And here we are today, fam, was pointing it out. Guys, thank you so much for joining the show today. There are ways down below to help us out. It's all in the description of the chats. We've been got a lot's been going on in our personal lives, so we're trying to keep afloat and do as much as we can. So I want to thank you all for joining us today. Hold on a second, Jayme. I got that. So, anyways, fam, anything else to talk about before we bounce on out of here?
No, fam, that's it. I've just been dealing with a lot of stuff, and we'll touch base hopefully.
We got a lot going on in the personal lives. Yeah. I think me and Fee, we do as much as we can when we can, and we're going to continue to do that. We did get our monetization back. There was actually some super chats today, which is always cool. The last one being Citizen Pendejo, but we also had one from El Rey Labubu. I can't even say that shit. And Chris Allegre threw a couple in there. And we also had a lot of people in there today, fam, that just Atras I saw hanging out. Friendly Brilliant. You haven't checked out my show in the morning. It might be too early for you. I have a show every Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern time. I did have a different co-host every day of the week. Today, Alex Strenger was on as my Monday co-host. But on Tuesdays is Nico House. So Nico House will be with us tomorrow. Wednesdays, Karen Kwiatkowski. Thursdays, Kyle Lanzalone. And Friday, Andrew Ziegman from the Action for Assange We have a great time. It's a call-in show, so people can pick up the phone and throw their opinions around. We had a fun time today. Go Start, too, as well. Great to see you. Jilly Love. Pittsburgh, dude. Wild Rose. Thank you to all out there who, and Fred Edward, of course, as well. Gabrielle Freedom, our producer, our co-producer as well. And I want to thank Jayme as on top of everything there. So, guys, that's it for today. I love Nico, too. And also Karen. How can you not like them? I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. This is TruthWire. We're going to get out of here. It's Truth Out time, fam. We'll see you in a couple days.
Bye.